I'm Don Gooch, and I serve as the chairman of the Garland County Economic Development Corporation, now known as the Hot Springs Metro Partnership. 2 years ago, we engaged TIP Strategies to help us create a strategic plan for economic growth here in the greater Hot Springs region. The partnership's vision is that economic prosperity leads to smart, purposeful growth, which then leads to higher quality of life for all within the region. The campaign to implement this plan is called Forward Together. Today's video recaps the plan and shows the perspective of several investors. The greater Hot Springs region has tremendous potential if we move forward together.
My name is Dave Byerly. I'm the president of the Hot Springs Metro Partnership. Many of you may know that organization as the Garland County Economic Development Corporation. We're in the process of changing our name to better reflect many of the things that you're going to hear today in terms of this plan. We're very, very excited to have you here today, to have you hear about the plan, to have you hear about the campaign. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up my 2012 chairman of the Hot Springs Metro Partnership, who also happens to be the market president for Arvest Bank, Mr. Don Gooch.
Thank you, Dave. About 6 years ago, I came to Hot Springs as a tourist, stayed at the Arlington Hotel, dined at Bel Arte, saw the horse races at Oak Lawn Racetrack, went out on the lake, dined out there, got on a boat, had the time of my life. And as I was driving down South 7, I saw a new Arvest Bank being built. And I immediately called the supervisor for this part of Arvest and said, if there's ever an opportunity to be in Hot Springs, I'd like to be there. And I think people in businesses and places all over the country and all over the world, frankly, would consider themselves lucky, as I do, to come to Hot Springs one day. And that's part of what we're trying to emphasize here with our Forward Together campaign. I'm excited to be the chairman of the partnership at this time because as we come out of a recession, we are poised for growth. We all know what a beautiful place we have with the lakes, the springs, historic downtown, and other things that make this place great. Magic Springs, Oak Lawn, etc. National Park Community College, Sally Carter. Please, applause for Sally Carter. But we don't want to sit back and rest on our laurels. So you will see in this Forward Together, focus on attracting talent and working with our existing industry. During the strategic planning process and quiet phase of the campaign, we have heard from you the needs and concerns that you have as existing businessmen and women. As chairman, I want you to know that we embrace the opportunity to do whatever it takes in assisting your organization. You'd be amazed at the comprehensive assistance Dave and his staff can provide to you if growing your business is in your plans. Becoming aware of opportunities to help existing industry is definitely on our radar. I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce our campaign leadership. I want to commend them for taking on the task of moving our region forward together. They are committed to growing the economy for all who visit, work, and call the greater Hot Springs region home. The first of our three campaign co-chairmen needs no introduction. He is our chairman emeritus, Don Monroe with Monroe & Company. Don's co-chairmen for this are Jerry Mabry with National Park Medical Center and Tim Johnson with Mercy Hospital, Hot Springs. Neither of them were able to be with us today. They seem to be pretty busy right now. Our Campaign Support Council co-chairs are what you would call the godparents of the campaign, and they are the Honorable Bill Sample of District 19, and the Honorable Rick Davis. The Honorable Ruth Carney with the City of Hot Springs. Stan Grice, past chair of our board with Monroe & Company. And Don Monroe is doing double duty serving on this committee as well. As we just mentioned, Mayor Carney I want to introduce to you David Watkins. David is our new city manager and is here with us today. David, can you stand, please? What an exciting time to be coming to our community. And last, Martha Jane Murray with the William J. Clinton Foundation. She was unable to be here with us today. Now our division chairs, which are platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. First, our platinum division co-chair is Steve Honeycutt with Magic Springs and Tim Johnson with Mercy Hospital. Steve? He's not here. Okay. The platinum division is made up of investments of $75,000 or more over the next 5 years. Co-chairing the gold division, those investors between $25,000 and $75,000 are myself and Chad Tillery. Co-chairing the silver division, investors between $5,000 and $25,000 are Forrest Spicer, Vice President of Bancorp South, and Major General Tom Arwood with the Hot Springs Village POA. Lastly, the person chairing the bronze division, which are investments up to $5,000, is a relative newcomer to the area, but has had a great impact. Delene Davidson with the Muses Project. Let's recognize all these head table guests. And now it says, thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don. Thank you, Don. We appreciate everyone's work that they put in on this campaign, and I know it's a little bit off script, but I want to take just a second. If you're on the Hot Springs Metro Partnership Board, who is really kind of the people who have led and organized this strategic thought process, I'd like for you to stand for just one moment so we can recognize you. Thank you very much. So it's come to my attention, I've thrown Turf Catering a curveball because I started a minute or two before they were ready for me. So they're going to go ahead and continue to serve lunch and pass out lunch as we continue on. But we really don't want to take away from the program or really cheat any of the time. So we're going to continue on and they'll work around us. So that'll all be good. At this time, you know, we thought it would be appropriate if we took a little bit of perspective and looked at really what got us here and why we felt the need to craft this plan and to venture onto this campaign as we've done today. And to speak to that, I'm going to ask Greg Asbel to come up. Greg is the Regional Manager of Customer Service for Entergy. He's been an engaged member of the Hot Springs Metro Partnership Board and Garland County Economic Development Corporation for many years, brings an excellent perspective to statewide issues, and we're very, very pleased to have him agree to serve on our board. At this time, Greg Asbel.
Thanks, Dave. Well, it's great to be here and always good to see all of you. I'm here really to discuss the evolution of the strategic plan and Forward Together for the greater Hot Springs region. Arkansas Power and Light, which later became Entergy, has an extraordinarily rich history in this region. Harvey Couch, an Arkansan and Entergy's founder, built the first power plant in Malvern, sent electrons to Arkadelphia, and created Lakes Hamilton and Catherine through hydroelectric dams. Mr. Couch believed that the best purpose of any business was to help develop and serve the community in which it locates. That set the cadence for Entergy's operations for the past 100 years. As I work with other economic development organizations around the state, the ones that are successful take a strategic approach which lays the groundwork for success. However, we all know an idea is worth nothing until it's developed and implemented. Our strategic plan is regionally focused on Garland, Pike, Montgomery, Hot Spring, and Clark counties. This is a trend we see throughout the country. we have to look no further than Little Rock to see how a regional economic development plan can lead to success. While there have been some tough times over the past several years, we are blessed to live in a region that has not suffered as much as the rest of the United States during this economic recession. We don't have the high peaks or the low valleys that most regions experience. About 2.5 years ago, the Hot Springs Metro Partnership, or GCEDC, as it has been known, Board of Directors felt we needed a plan that would carry the greater Hot Springs region forward the next decade and beyond. We interviewed several strategic planning firms and chose TIP Strategies of Austin, Texas. They have a stellar track record and have provided strategic plans for over 100 communities such as Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Richmond, Virginia, Jackson, Mississippi, and Fort Smith, just to name a few. TIP spent more than a year in the area conducting meetings and obtaining input from residents as well as business and community leaders. Combining their analytical tools with an understanding of economic trends and designed a strategy that supported the greater Hot Springs region's vision for the future. TIP focused on the following key goals: job creation and retention, attracting young professionals and developing entrepreneurs, building on the region's natural, cultural, and historic assets, and promoting growth in downtown Hot Springs. TIP showed us several examples of communities that did not create a strategic plan for economic growth. These communities were without a bright future. Their next generation was electing to move elsewhere. Their educational assets slipped backwards, and their city and county budgets were being cut. We also learned that we trailed nationally in personal income and in some other key employment areas that are critical to our region's success. The board elected to conduct a feasibility study to determine if there was support for such a plan. In the summer of 2011, Convergent Nonprofit Solutions in Atlanta, Georgia, was retained to conduct such a study. The study revealed there was support for the strategic plan and that the partnership could realistically raise $3 to $3.5 million over a 5-year period with a plan that contained achievable and measurable goals. The result of this study was the creation of the Forward Together campaign, which has been in the quiet phase over the past 6 months. As you can see by the assembled leadership we have here today, we believe this is critical to economic growth over the next several years. I encourage you all to get involved and learn more about the plan as we bring the campaign to a successful conclusion in the next few months. I personally believe in this region, and I believe in this city, and I believe in all of you. We have to continue to believe in each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. You know, our next speaker is going to talk about why this plan. And I have to tell you that I've been fortunate to call John Roberts a friend for over 15 years. John Roberts with TIP Strategies out of Austin, in my opinion, is one of the best economic development strategists in the world. And I say the world because his projects that he works on stretches far beyond the continental United States and into places that are incredibly dynamic, challenging, complicated, all words that I think he may use to describe Hot Springs. But anyway, why this plan? Why did we choose the things we chose? Why were these the right things for us to do to move us forward? And those are some of the issues that John Roberts is going to address at this time. Please help me welcome John Roberts.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Introductions like that are always very difficult to follow. But I think what Dave has presented here is a challenge. And the challenge on why this plan is a challenge that this campaign has to meet and that you have to meet individually. And basically it comes down to a finding that we arrived at relatively early, and I remember Stan being a little bit taken aback by that finding, and it was right at the very outset. And it really was encapsulated for us in a phrase that we used, that the biggest problem here was that good enough is good enough. If you're working with a community that's in crisis, it's not a difficult sell to say that you need to be forward-looking and that you need a good strategy. If you're working with a community, on the other hand, that is a national leader, they're the ones that are constantly looking to go even beyond what they have. But when you're in a community that's doing well enough, a plan is a real challenge. Because the question really becomes, why do we need it? What is it about us that says we can't just continue the way we've been going? So when I keep coming back to that theme, you'll understand the difficulty that we have. Because if you did nothing, it's not like another community you would say, now you're going to fall off the cliff. You won't fall off the cliff. It would be dishonest of us to suggest that you will. But at the same time, there are opportunities that are being squandered. And in order to appreciate those opportunities, it's necessary to look outside. When we go through a process like this, we like to operate in terms of guiding principles. And we like to say that the goal is not economic development, but economic vitality. And that captures a little bit of the difference that Hot Springs represents, as you heard so eloquently, not only in Arkansas, but in the nation and indeed in the world. And that complacency is a drag on the opportunities that are available to you. And what it means to squander them is to realize that you have buildings which, for lack of investment, will reach a point where they are no longer viable business opportunities for you. You will reach a realization that the businesses that you have need new energy that is brought through technology, that the existing workforce is not a workforce that's going to guarantee you the future that you can have. So we're really looking at a series of goals that don't look like your traditional economic development goals. The traditional economic development goal said, let's identify a new industrial site and let's run sewer and water out there and let's call that economic development. But if you were to do that, all you would be doing, and I hate to be so blunt, but you would just be adding to an already large inventory that's going unfilled for industrial space, which is in the millions upon millions of square feet. So some broader vision really was called for. And you see in this chart, these aren't ordered. The order isn't necessary in a 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these are important. And one of those is in the downtown. And one of the other things that we have discovered is that the strength of a region begins not just with its main city, but with the downtown of that city. And how you were judged and how you were seen by those people who come here, as Don did and was so taken with it, as we are too, is to realize that when that falls into disrepair, you can't afford to bring it back. The opportunity to bring it back is now. Obviously, your regional competitiveness in business overall, especially in IT, is critical. And these last two, and I'll leave talent for last, is destination. Is to see yourself, to see the bones of the community. When we talk among ourselves at TIP, we say, what are the bones of this community? I mean, you know, you can almost say, where's that skeleton, which if you don't have it, you can't create? Well, you have the best bones in the nation. I think that I could make a convincing case that Hot Springs is the most beautiful community of its size in the entire United States. And I can tell you I have never said that before. I didn't say that in Seattle. I didn't say it in Saratoga Springs, but I feel that I can say it here. Now, the missing component in that vision, though, is talent. And the talent is not just a fancy way of talking about workforce. It's the way that your young, educated people think of themselves. They think of themselves as free agents in a market that is seeking their skills. There's a lot of talk about the national unemployment rate. You know, it pushed up over 14%. At the worst of the recession, the unemployment rate for people with a college degree never exceeded 5% in the worst of the recession. So an educated workforce is absolutely key, and you are suffering in that. And the only way that that can be overcome is for a plan that also commits with the same energy and the same conviction to the recruitment of talent as it does to the recruitment of business. So let's take a quick look at these elements that make up the plan, and then I'm going to relinquish the dais here because the next phase is really the phase that will push this forward. But the downtown was number one. Catalytic projects here, catalyst projects that can be transformative, that say good enough is not good enough, not because we can't continue to get by, but because that potential, that belief that you are an exceptional community. If I can leave you one message only, and that's the belief that Don stressed so eloquently, you are that exceptional community. Catalyst projects are critical to that. You can't bring people here and put them in one of the most beautiful landmark hotels and then have them wonder why they stayed in that hotel. That doesn't work. The strengthening of linkages between the different elements of the downtown, your gaming facilities, there's a proper way to say that, I've never learned it exactly. Game's a skill, I think it is. Your parkland, your lakes, those linkages are not well forged, and they're more evident than ever in the fact that signage is still a problem. That signage issue, which is fine for y'all, I mean, I can find my way home in Austin from my office. My wife doesn't think I always can, but it's because I live there. Y'all don't have that problem. You know how to get home at the end of the day. I don't know whether to turn right or left when I'm leaving the casino. And when I have turned right, I still don't know which way the downtown is. I have gotten lost in Hot Springs. You'll laugh at that, but it's not that much of an exaggeration. Signage is critical, and it's the difference, in our view, between something that's called quality of life, which you all are familiar with and which you appreciate, and quality of place. And the difference is this. Quality of place is to look at yourself from the eyes of an outsider. What does the outsider see? And when you've answered that question, then you have a sense of the difference between quality of place, outside in rather than inside out. Innovation and obviously adaptive reuse. Using your existing infrastructure to higher and better purpose. At the same time, your traditional businesses and attraction and expansion can't take a back seat. And of these different sectors that we've identified as possible recruitment targets, to include an urban view of business parks and to populate it with advanced manufacturing and with IT and with the businesses that create the linkages, and you have some of those already. And those little businesses that are 3 and 4 people software companies that you only give a second thought to after they suddenly have 50, 60, 70 employees and are going to double their workforce again in another year or two. That's the growth. And we can't stay wedded to traditional manufacturing. And I can say that sitting next to Stan. It is not traditional manufacturing that's going to be your employment base. Not because manufacturing isn't important. It's more important than ever. But it doesn't grow because its employment base grows. It grows through innovation and technology. And then this talent theme. The talent theme is recognizing that your demographics are working against you. If you are not a magnet, and I'm not excluding my own generation from this, but the generation that doesn't link itself to a young and more dynamic workforce, the community that doesn't see that as an essential goal of a strategic economic development plan will not succeed. It will not succeed. Key to these elements are higher education, and I'm thrilled at what Henderson is going to be doing here. I'm thrilled at your magnet program. I'm thrilled at the fact that you have the components for rethinking education in Hot Springs. If I can say with conviction that you are one of the most beautiful cities in the United States, I can also say with conviction that you are the most underserved from a higher education standpoint. And that is a condition that has to be changed. And it links directly to these others, that you have to be able to market to talent. And so when I hear that there's going to be a brewery in one of the bathhouses, that thrills me. And when I talk to the young people that are doing that and seeing music as a component to it, that thrills me. Those are not throwaway elements in economic development. Those are not frills. Those are economic development now. And we have to see that, and we have to appreciate it, and we have to internalize it. And finally, we have quality of place. And I've said it already, and I want to re-emphasize it. Every community in the United States believes that it has the best quality of life. I've never been to a community that isn't proud of its quality of life. And you know what? They're right. They're right because people wouldn't be living there if they didn't believe they had high quality of life. We use quality of place because we need to bring in that perspective that says, if this isn't your home, what would it take to make it your home? Not, I like it because I live here. I know that. But what would it be like for me not to be a resident here, and how would I feel if I came here? In the communities that are successful, their acceptance of people who are new is part of their success. When you come to the dynamic communities in the United States, you find yourself in a network that is entirely inclusive. It is no longer the good old boy network that you have to work your way up through and finally join that country club that finally gives you that access. Access should begin with day one. Those are the hallmarks of successful communities, and not just in the United States, and not just by size, but by a willful decision on the part of things like this capital campaign that says anyone who comes to Hot Springs has access at the highest and most continuous levels. And finally, I want to stress this national and international awareness. You have that potential to join the top communities, not only of the United States, but indeed globally. There are communities that are reinventing themselves that have less to work with than you do. So I'm going to conclude really by saying that this plan has its traditional elements. It recognizes that regional growth along traditional industries must be part of this new metro partnership. But at the core is what Hot Springs can become. And it's the belief that this is an exceptional community and that when you make that investment in the community, it will return to you many times over. It's been a privilege to work here, and I thank everyone for the opportunity.
Thank you, John. I will tell you, after hearing John speak, each of you should now wish that you had had the opportunity over the last 2 years that I've had to sit in the room and listen to him passionately create the opportunities that this community can achieve. So absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is going to talk about bringing this together, how to invest, why to invest, and how this plan, how to get you engaged in this plan. Stan Grice is a 25-year member of this community. He's the Chief Financial Officer at Monroe Incorporation. I don't see how Mr. Monroe continues to keep him on the payroll because I am working him to death. And I don't pay nearly as well. He is the former chairman of the Hot Springs Metro Partnership and currently the co-chair of the support council that is leading this campaign. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Stan Grice.
Thanks, Dave. My notes say I'm supposed to comment as appropriate about Dave. Good afternoon. As Dave mentioned, I'm Stan Grice. I'm Chief Financial Officer. I work for Monroe & Company. I have been here longer than 25 years. I need to tell you the real story. I started for National Rejectors Industries. Anybody remember that place? 1974. I graduated from college like on a Friday, and I went to work in Colorado. I grew up in Colorado. My parents had moved to Hot Springs because it was the place. Great place to retire. They lived on Lake Hamilton. I was struck by Hot Springs. I came here, went to work for National Rejectors like 3 days later. In those days, Don will remember, I think we had 700 employees at National Rejectors. The building that I sit in today, which is on Malvern at 3770 Malvern Road, was actually owned by Timex Corporation. They made Polaroid cameras in that building. They employed 600 or 700. Reynolds down the road from us employed, I don't know how many, 17, 1800. So I look over at John Hernsberger, Warehouser employed 700 or 800. Manufacturing in Garland County in those days was a big deal. And when I came to town to interview for a job, there were, in my community in Colorado, there were no jobs in private accounting, zero. And I came here and had 4 interviews and was taken with the fact that everybody was better than everybody else. Featherlight, Warehouser, Reynolds, they all had their stories. It was a great place in those days because manufacturing probably represented, including their dependents, 25,000, 30,000 covered lives in this community. 26 years ago, I came back to town. Mr. Monroe hired me and immediately passed on to me one of the things that I have had a lot of experience with, but not always good, and that is running our health care plan, which, as you know, is a real challenge. And in those days, that same manufacturing group put together our first employer health coalition. We had this thing we called Primary Care Network, and we basically had 17,000, 18,000 covered lives. Today, I think the Employer Health Coalition probably has 3,000 or fewer. Monroe & Company is an ex-official member of that, and you add our membership and some of the others that don't belong to that, and we probably have 5,000 covered lives. Our hospitals, if you understand how that works, have struggled with that since 1974. It's been a difficult journey for them because the fact of the matter is the number of private pay, and for that matter, fully insured, commercial pay kinds of employers in this town has shrunk up for a long time. And going on with kind of what John said, I mean, he was right. About 2 years ago, when I first met John, it was kind of shock and awe, you know. He immediately talked about the fact that manufacturing is probably not part of our future. Mr. Monroe and I don't like that talk. We grew up in the days when the economy was about guns and butter. Today, I think it's more about information technology, services, etc. Our community needs to embrace the fact that it's kind of time for that change. And as John said, that doesn't mean we aren't going to look for those opportunities, but to focus strictly on industry by looking for a industrial park somewhere in the area when we have as many vacant square feet as we do is probably not the right thing to do. When John came to town, we started to work on the strategic plan. I was really a novice to that, and with Dave's help and the help of the other board members, we kind of all got educated, and John did a great job helping what's now called the Hot Springs Metro Partnership Board understand what we needed to do, and that was to develop a plan so that we could begin to turn ourselves from a community that seems to be losing employers, especially losing employers that are growing in the neighborhood, and replace that with employers that are going to grow again for us. And to do that, we started working on this plan, and we have been in the process of gathering information, putting the plan together. John's group, Tip Strategies, has done a remarkable job of putting together a lot of statistical data. A lot of that data is a little scary. You're certainly welcome to look at that plan and look at that kind of data. But over the next 5 years, we're going to take the plan that we've put together, that we now call Forward Together. That's what we're all doing here. And we're going to help that plan every way we can to have a major impact on our community. So to determine the true value of that, one of the things that we have done is tried to set some goals. I'm a financial guy. And I've talked to a number of you about the plan, and one of my colleagues said to me about the plan, in order for me to convince my management that this is the right thing to do, I need to be able to draw a straight line from my investment across to my return. So, and frankly, I think we all need to do that. And so part of this is to take and set this goal, and right now we're looking at the kinds of industries that we hope to attract, and those are going to be in areas that might be surprising to you. Health and wellness. Let's face it, the population is getting a little older. Heard the other day the average age is now 50-something. So there are more of us over 50 than under. Health and wellness initiatives will be a big thing. Professional and business services will go hand in hand with that. As John mentioned, you can't do either of those without information technology, and we're going to have to focus on information technology. Advanced manufacturing means those things that have moved forward with information technology and are technologically oriented. We have those in Hot Springs. We have those fostering new jobs in Hot Springs. Distribution and logistics, we have those in Hot Springs. We need to continue on that road. And our heritage and recreational tourism. Our heritage and recreational tourism is still part of the community. John said to me in one of his presentations, a vibrant community can only survive if it has all of those facets. It's got to have all of those things together, not just be a tourism community, not be a retirement community, not be an industrial community, not be an information technology community. It's got to be all of the above. And so all these things that we're looking at are part of this process to try to put that together. So if we create this goal for 1,000 jobs, and through John's research, I think we've determined that those jobs are probably worth $37,850 per year. Is that right, John? Yes. So let me do my numbers. Turns out that the economic impact of that region will be an additional $49 million. And somehow in the notes, to me it says that that's $27 million in consumer expenditures annually. Depends on how you look at that. It's easier for me to say it's $50 million and it multiplies 5 times, which is $250 million. And I hope we all recognize that in order for us to reach the goal, the first thing we got to do is set the goal. We have to determine what we got to do to get behind it. And we've got to, at that point in time, start the process together. And I'm pleased to tell you that we've already been able to attract some new businesses. Don't know if any of you saw the new building that the Math and Science School has constructed down on the end of Central Avenue. We have, for the past several years, been looking at a number of opportunities. One of those starts with some of our downtown initiatives and trying to renovate the downtown area. Got a lot of things going, a lot of good things going. So now it's time for us to become really committed to the plan. And before I can ask you to be committed to the plan, I have to convince you that we have accountability. And believe me, the board of Hot Springs Metro Partnership has been in this process anxious to put together accountability so that when you invest a dollar in Forward Together, we can tell you how that dollar is going to benefit the community. And along the way of doing this plan, if we need to monitor and adjust, we'll monitor and adjust and make whatever changes necessary to try to make those 1,000 jobs a reality. And we've already been in the community during this quiet phase. A lot of you have already met with some of our board members and one of our men on the ground, Paul Santiago. So if I can do this, what I'd like to do is let you hear from some of those people. Paul, where are we?
Why is Hot Springs unique? I believe that Hot Springs is free. That's a great asset that we have that a lot of people don't realize. We have mountains to hike in, we have lakes to go play and fishing, we have free hot water. A lot of people have to pay for that. We have free primary education, free high schools here that are top in the state. Hot Springs sells itself.
Hot Springs is very unique in that it has individualism, unlike any other small city.
We also need to remember the education as well. I mean, we have the School of Math and Science and Arts here, which is something that we fought so hard to get, and it's just booming now under Dr. Hugo, under Dr. Hugo's lead. And that's a really neat thing that Hot Springs can brag about.
I think what makes Hot Springs unique is the natural resources. The water, the lakes, the streams, the mountains, the trails, and of course our gemstone, Bathhouse Road.
To me, Forward Together means everyone working together, listening to other ideas, and creating successful partnerships.
For me, Forward Together means that we are all bonding together, that we are all moving in the same direction, and that we want Hot Springs and our region to be the best that it can be.
I think we need to get together as a community, as a team, and get all of our assets, put it in one basket, and see if we can't make Hot Springs a viable solution to everybody.
This is the first opportunity since I've been in Hot Springs where a real group with wonderful ideas is coming together to make some excellent things happen.
All businesses need to fund Forward Together because we all need to show unity. We all need to see the future of Hot Springs in our region, and we all need to know that what we're doing is going to keep Hot Springs growing and keep Hot Springs moving, keep our region strong.
I think it's important for others to consider investing in this because there's never been an easier time. The hard work's been done, the heavy lifting's there, and will continue after. So all we have to do is just put the money into it, and then they're able to take and run with it. And it can make such a huge difference for our community by pooling our resources and combining our efforts.
This is a marathon, not a sprint. So over the length of the 5 years, we're going to see great things happen.
Well, I'm excited about this 5-year plan because it's going to lay the foundation for the future. The team is going to put the blocks in place, and that's important to me because my son, I'm hoping, both of my sons for that matter, are going to come to Hot Springs in the future. They may be working in my business, they may not. Hot Springs has to be an attractive community for them or they're not coming back.
What I'd like to see most for the region is I'd like us to have great education, great cultural activities, a wonderful place to live, and so we can attract an even stronger labor pool than we have now.
We want Hot Springs to be the city that everyone wants to come to. This is where the businesses need to come and open up. This is where families need to come because they can get the great jobs that are in Hot Springs, and then they too can benefit from everything else that we have here.
The most important part of Forward Together is the creation of new jobs and the retention of our current industries and businesses.
I really look forward to the growth of our community. Business growth, the entrepreneurial spirit that we have, bringing youth back into Hot Springs, professional youth that can stay here and make Hot Springs their home. We're losing our kids all the time, and I'm really excited about the chance that we might be able to keep those in the future.
We've got Oaklawn Racing, we've got Magic Springs, we have a lot of valuable things that are already in place and they're not going anywhere. So we're fortunate that they're here. 20 years from now, that's going to be the same case, only we're going to have it improved.
20 years from now, what I see it is thriving, growing, continuing to develop because of choices we made today.
This plan is going to help attract people who have vision and energy and money to put into an area and make it something very special. It's special now, but it can only get better.
The key to the 5-year plan, though, is a good foundation for Hot Springs. If we get a good foundation built, then I can pass on my business to my son in the future. That's what's important to me, the future for Hot Springs.
How's that? I hope you recognize some of those people. In closing, one of the things I want to ask you to do is get involved. Not just through your investment in Forward Together, but with your ideas and your service and your energy and whatever it takes. The screen says, will we make things happen, watch things happen, or wonder what happened? I know the answer to that, and I look at all the faces out there, and I would just ask all of you, one of my favorite movies is this movie called Independence Day. It's corny. It's Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, and Bill Pullman, who is the President of the United States, gets up and he makes this rah-rah speech. And he says, part of that, and I can't remember exactly the line, though I probably have heard it 80 times, which is, we need to put aside our petty differences and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. I don't know of anyone in this room who probably could have delivered that with more meaning than we just heard. So thank you very much. I'm going to ask Don Gooch to now come back forward, come back up and tell us some exciting news. So Don, it's all yours. Stop that.
Do we believe good is good enough? No, we don't. We're going to strive for excellence. And with this quiet period, we've been out there and you've committed to that excellence. We hope we provided you with the information today that will convince you, if you haven't already, to join us and make an investment in Forward Together. It's going to take all of us supporting the implementation of this plan if we are to be successful in this region. I'd like to now present to you our Investor Honor Roll. These organizations and individuals have committed to the future of our region, and we'd like to recognize them now. As I mentioned earlier, we have 4 divisions. Platinum, which is $75,000 or above for over 5 years. Let's have a round of applause for those Platinum investors. I'll go ahead and say those out loud because $75,000 over a 5-year period is a significant investment. The City of Hot Springs, Entergy, Evraz Stratcor, Garland County, Magic Springs and Crystal Falls, Mercy Hospital of Hot Springs, National Park Medical Center, and Sigma Supply. Gold level investment, which is between $25,000 and $75,000. Allen Tillery Auto Center, Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield, Arvest Bank, Hill and Cox Corporation, Hot Springs Village, Keith Smith Company, and the Morris Foundation. Gold Division continued, Mountain Valley Spring Water, Oak Lawn Jockey Club, Riser Ford, Riser Nissan, Smith's Consumer Products, Summit Bank, Tim Parker Chrysler, Dodge and Jeep, Windows USA and Window Mart, and US Bank. Let's have a round of applause for our gold investors. In our silver division, I'm not going to read them all off, but I'm going to let you see. Certainly fantastic investment in our silver division. Thank you very much. And then finally, our bronze division. All right, let's give a nice round of applause for all these investors. Before we announce our amount of money that we've raised today, I'd like to introduce to you Paul Santiago. He's been clicking the clicker back there. Paul, can you raise your hand? Paul has been incredibly valuable to us in this campaign. We've appreciated all the support that he's had. He's with Convergent Nonprofit Solutions, and he still may be calling a few of you over the next few months. Please take time to meet with him and consider investing in the region's future. Without any further delay, can I have the leadership team stand up front? Stand. Each of our leaders has a card which they will reveal to give us our total today. We start with you, Judge. Mayor? See, Don? We're just going random here. General? Steve? Chad? Chad number 1? Deline? Chad number 2? Okay. And Forrest Spicer. That's right. We've raised $2,300,825 today. Amazing. Kind of makes you feel like Johnny Carson with the music in the background. Thank you very much. And we'd like to thank Steve and Clyde for the great music today. Thank each of you for coming out today. Forward Together will run through the end of August. We're well on our way to achieving our goal. Again, please take time to meet with our Forward Together campaign director, Paul Santiago, when he calls, or if Stan calls, or if I call, or if Rita calls you to set up an appointment for you to meet with one of us. Please take our calls and meet with us. I think you'll appreciate the information we have for you. Thank you for being with us. Take a copy of the Forward Together brochure, and if we've left any questions unanswered, feel free to see one of the campaign leaders. Let's strive for excellence. Let's communicate openly. Let's be great. Thank you.
For more information about today's program, call the Hot Springs Metro Partnership at 624-6807. Thank you.